Let's look at verse 4. Verse 4 reads, "The God of all comfort, who comforts us in all tribulation, that we may be able to comfort those who are in any trouble, with the same comfort which we ourselves are comforted by God." The tribulation, the crushing pressure, it's always something. Has anybody ever here, I mean, I know maybe, but just been in a moment of life where there's no problem at all. No issue whatsoever. Now, I've been thinking about this for, all week long as I've been preparing this message, and I can't come up with a time or a date when I had no issues. Okay, so it's always something. There's always a bill that has to be paid. There's always somebody sick. There's always something going on in my head that there's always something. There's always some form of tribulation. Now here is this church, and they're going through these things too. Not as a body of Christ, but also individually. There's constant tribulation or trouble of some form. But what I want us to look at now is, how does God comfort me? What are the moments in which He shows up? Sometimes God comforts in the way of a blessing. Now, a blessing can be a lot of things. That's evading a car accident. That could be a financial blessing that comes in the mail. That can be someone saying they love you. There's a lot of things in ways that God blesses us. Now, one of the key things to remember is when God comforts us in this manner, when we have this need before Him, and He comes through in a way that we can't take credit for, that it can only be attributed to God. Sometimes God comforts us with favor. We have a court date. We have a meeting. We have a situation where we're going to sit down and talk to one of our family members. We're going to answer that phone call that we should have answered a long time ago. But we know it's going to go on and on and on. And something happens. And the doors are open. It's not as bad as we thought. There's favor on it. People look at us in a different way. When you walk into a room, God can bless us with favor. He can comfort us in that manner. Something that we cannot take credit for. Something that can only be attributed to God. Now, I know for me, God can comfort us with peace. The situations of life can be going crazy. We can be stressed out, not understanding what to do next. But then comes, through some amazing way, a moment of clarity of thought. A moment of peace in my spirit. A moment of calm when I should be going crazy. That I can't take credit for. That I can only attribute to God. God can comfort us with love. Maybe it's reading about His love. Maybe it's coming to church on a Sunday where we feel it a little more, where we can get together a little closer. Maybe it's looking across the room at your loved one, your child, your daughter, your son. With all their flaws, you still love them. With all our flaws, we still love them. It's a love that we can't take credit for. We can only attribute it to God. All of these things, that ways that our lives change, and how we find peace when we shouldn't have it, and all of these things that happen, things that we can't take credit for. Now, we take credit for a lot of stuff that we shouldn't. And I think by doing that, many times we walk past God's touch in our lives. And then we say, God, where are you? And He's been blessing and moving things around all day long. but we've missed it. We need to keep our eyes open for His touch. The things we can't take credit for is a comfort from God, is a blessing from Him, is a little bit of peace, a little bit of love, a little bit of movement in our lives. We got to keep our eyes open for these things. And maybe it's just a moment in an insane day. But that moment is a gift from God.